There are plenty of movies about how hard it is to keep babies alive, so it's kind of strange that the most powerful, evil wizard lost to one. Not only that, but Voldemort tried everything to eliminate Harry over the years. You know, except for one of the plans that could have worked perfectly. Taking out his nemesis could have been a lot easier if Voldemort had tried the slightest bit of subtlety or the right potion. Friendship is magic is kind of My Little Pony's thing, but the sentiment very much exists in the Harry Potter universe too. You know, in addition to all of the actual magic, it's very well established that Voldemort and Harry Potter have some major differences, and not just in the looks department. Harry is surrounded with people he loves and trusts, while Voldemort doesn't have any sort of emotional attachments to his followers. His friendships often make Harry stronger, but they can also make him weaker, and that's something Voldemort could have exploited. During the Triwizard tournament, he risked his life to save people from the bottom of the lake, and he did his best to save Dobby, who tormented Harry an awful lot in his efforts to help him. Why didn't Voldemort simply kidnap someone Harry cares about and then lure him into a trap? Yes, Hermione is a brilliant witch, but she's also a kid who lives with a couple of muggle parents. How hard would it have been for Voldemort or some of his allies to kidnap her during summer vacation? We even saw Voldemort use this tactic somewhat in the Order of the Phoenix by sending him visions of Sirius Black, and that worked like a charm. If Voldemort had actually taken things a step further and actually gotten his hands on Harry's loved ones, he could have brought him down. It's tempting to give Voldemort a pass for failing to eliminate Harry, at least during his first couple of years at Hogwarts. It took some time for Voldemort to build his following back up, free some of his most trustworthy supporters from Azkaban, and perhaps most importantly, not be a creepy face on the back of Quirrell's head.
Yes, you see what I've become.
But let's not forget that the entire series would not have taken place if Voldemort had just done the job right the first time he tried to take out Harry when he was just a cute little baby. The reason trying to eliminate Harry almost destroyed Voldemort completely was because his mother, Lily Potter, laid down her life for her son. But Voldemort could have just, well, worked around her. He could have easily stupefied her, or just disarmed her, and then stuck Harry. Plus, if he spared Lily, he would have also retained the loyalty of Severus Snape, who, as we know, did a lot to help good triumph over evil after this incident. Or if Voldemort had just interpreted the prophecy a little differently, he could have destroyed Neville Longbottom instead, convinced himself that he had prevented it from playing out, and went right on conquering the wizarding world. Good old Professor Slughorn is a smart guy who doesn't know quite when to keep quiet. He's the one who told a young Tom Riddle about Horcruxes in the first place, which led Voldemort surviving his initial confrontation with Harry, and thus going on to terrorize the wizarding world once more. Obviously, this was a sore subject for the potions master, but eventually he confessed and filled Harry in on Horcruxes, thus giving him the info he needed to destroy Voldemort once and for all. Before Dumbledore convinced Slughorn to return to Hogwarts, Horace was worried about Death Eaters either trying to destroy him or recruit him to their side. But how hard were these Death Eaters really working to bring down old Horace? Voldemort definitely should have made this a much bigger priority and realized that Slughorn's knowledge of Horcruxes made him too dangerous to live. Instead, they let this loose end live long enough to retire not once, but twice. It's kind of an understatement to say that Voldemort held a grudge against Harry Potter. In his defense, Harry is the reason he ended up sharing space with Quirrell, feeding on unicorns, and looking like this. Not only did he have a personal vendetta against our young hero, but he also believed that it was him or Harry thanks to Sybil Trelawney's prophecy about neither living while the other survives. But Voldemort could have been the one to survive if he had just learned to let go a little bit. Seriously, he had so many faithful servants who would have loved to take out Harry, but instead, Voldemort insisted that he stay alive until he could do the deed himself. Instead, his followers were goofing around giving kids cursed diaries instead of actually paving the way for their master's return. But even once Voldemort was back, he still couldn't delegate this particular chore. He had Harry totally at his mercy during the Triwizard tournament, so much so that even a sniveling coward like Peter Pettigrew could have easily taken him out. But oh no, Voldemort just had to do it himself. Except for the fact that he clearly could not. Other wizards would not have been slowed down by their connection to Harry and could have disposed of him easily, saving Voldemort the trouble. Voldemort's failure to delegate isn't the only time his control issues and flair for the dramatic had cost him a chance at destroying Harry Potter. Obviously, early on, his efforts were greatly hindered by, not having a body, which is actually a pretty good excuse. But why did he have to use Harry's DNA to create the regeneration potion that brought him back in Goblet of Fire? Yes, it had to be from one of Voldemort's foes, but if you haven't noticed, he had a ton of those. He pretty much had to narrow it down to non-Death Eater, but no, it just had to be Harry. Instead of labeling Cedric Diggory as a spare and taking him down immediately, he could have extracted an ingredient first. Even Wormtail knew this was a bad idea, and he thought spending years as a rat was a solid plan. But Voldemort couldn't see past his own nose, probably because he doesn't have one, and insisted on using Harry for the potion. As we all know, this prevented Voldemort from striking him down then and there, when he pretty much had the perfect chance to end Harry's life. Finding and destroying all of the Horcruxes was an essential part of bringing down Voldemort. But seriously, could Voldemort have made it any easier for them? Why weren't they spread out across different continents? Why didn't he toss one into the ocean or leave it in a lockbox in Antarctica? He could have left these seemingly innocuous-looking objects anywhere they weren't quite so easy to track down. Voldemort made 7 of these things, not including accidentally the portion of himself he accidentally transferred to Harry. He could have at least put one of them in a hard-to-get, seemingly random place. Sneaking into Gringotts was definitely a challenge, but let's see Harry try to climb Mount Everest and dig one out of the snow. Severus Snape's obsession with Lily Potter will always be creepy rather than cute, but Voldemort was incredibly foolish to underestimate him. Yeah, we know, Voldemort doesn't quite understand the whole love thing, which is often the reason he makes such foolish decisions. But he does understand loyalty, pride, and the ability to hold a grudge for a really long time. He should have known eliminating Lily would make Snape furious, and as we discussed earlier, it was totally unnecessary to take her out. Allowing her to survive would have cemented Severus's loyalty to him, and despite his greasiness, he's a talented and resourceful wizard. Just look at how much help Snape provided to the Resistance, and Harry Potter specifically. If Voldemort had not betrayed Snape, he might have let Quirrell buck Harry right off his broom back in his first year. Even after he made the tactical mistake of destroying Lily, he could have made the best out of a bad situation by taking out Snape in a timely manner. Instead, he freely gave him enough time to share his memories with Harry, thus ensuring his eventual defeat. Voldemort has a flair for the dramatic, and we've seen it cost him time and time again. He just had to gather everyone around to show them Harry was at his mercy during Goblet of Fire, which of course gave Harry time to escape. But what if Voldemort had embraced just the slightest amount of subtlety and used stealth to bring down his enemy instead of an over-the-top display of force? For all Dumbledore talked about Hogwarts being a safe place, it was still pretty dangerous most of the time. I mean, what else would you call a grown man sneaking into the children's dormitory disguised as a rat for years without being noticed? That really should have been a much bigger PR scandal than it actually was. Plus, Sirius Black was able to sneak around the school and slash up the portrait of the fat lady and then escape without being caught. And Rita Skeeter was able to make a pest of herself. Why couldn't Voldemort have tried sneaking into Hogwarts? Or at the very least having one of his loyal followers do the same? Couldn't someone have used a Polyjuice potion to go undercover as a random Gryffindor and gotten close enough to Harry to eliminate him? Or disguise themselves as Neville's Toad Trevor or something?
Trevor.
If Voldemort didn't make such a big show of force, he could have quietly eliminated Harry right under Dumbledore's nose. Horcruxes involve powerful magic and aren't something that anyone can create, but unbreakable vows actually seem pretty simple. Ron said his brothers Fred and George almost made one with him when they were just kids, so how complex can it really be? Snape and Narcissa Malfoy made their vow look downright simple, and just like that, Snape was bound to protect Draco or forfeit his own life. So why didn't Voldemort force people into these vows all the time? He clearly wasn't worried for his followers' health and safety, and this would have ensured their cooperation even more than their dark marks. If he had made just a few more of these advanced pinky promises during his rise to power, maybe he wouldn't have had to spend so many years gathering allies while he was revived. Time Turners have so much potential, yet in the original Harry Potter series, we mostly saw them used so Hermione could take some extra classes. Why couldn't Voldemort or one of his supporters gotten their hands on one? Sure, there are all kinds of rules concerning time travel, and it's easy to accidentally change the future/present, but it's downright weird that Voldemort never even tried to use this particular method. There were a bunch of them at the Ministry of Magic before they were destroyed, and we know Voldemort had influence inside the Ministry. There's everyone's favorite Professor Umbridge, of course, as well as who knows how many others under his control. It seems like he had ample opportunities over the years to grab a time turner or two, but just didn't, for no real reason. He could have just snuck up behind his old self before he destroyed Lily, taken out Harry, and gone back to present day. Admit it, even if you fancy yourself a Gryffindor, you've probably thought of 100 ways you could have done Voldemort's job better. Share one or two of your Harry Potter elimination tactics with us in the comments section. Staying up to date with Screen Rant isn't magic. All you have to do is click subscribe. We'll see you next time.